Hi, my name is Tamara Schrader, and I have the honor tonight of introducing my dear friend, Leslie. Now, I've known Leslie since middle school, and I could go on and on about how incredibly talented she is. I could go on about how fun she is, how smart she is, what great hair she has. You're going to see that in a second. But she's accomplished a lot in her life. But what I admire most about her is not what she's accomplished and all the really cool things that she's done, the things she's created. What I love about her most is this audacious determination that she has to live life fully, to live life honestly, and to live life on purpose. And if you know her, it is a stunning thing to watch and to get to be a part of. Now, after Leslie's life was completely shattered, in a single moment, I watched her open up her heart to grief, and she allowed grief to become her teacher. And what's amazing about her is that as she gains wisdom from grief, she brings others along so that we can learn from grief too. So would you please welcome my friend, Leslie Harter-Berg.
What should I be doing? It's April 2019, and I am sitting in front of my therapist asking this question. I hear crickets. So naturally, I continue to talk as you do when your therapist gives you the silent treatment, and I ask more questions. Aren't you going to give me a homework assignment? Is there something I should be reading? Is there something I should be writing? What should I be doing? My therapist is confused. My therapist is confused because it's only been 3 weeks since my husband Ryan died suddenly on our family vacation in Palm Springs. We were healthy. We were happy. We were running our own video production company together here in Vancouver called Harter Creative, which I still run today. Shameless plug. We were doing things like making dog food commercials. It wasn't exactly like we were changing the world, but we were having fun. We were making stuff together. He had actually just spoken at this very event, Van Talks, months prior. Look at that guy. He was in desperate need of a haircut. But he was full of life. And then, poof, he was gone. And myself and my 2 boys, Whit and Rory, who were 3 and 1.5 at the time, we had to fly from sunny California to rainy Vancouver, Washington, with one less husband, one less dad, one less dog food making commercial business partner. What should I be doing? My therapist is confused because even though my life has just gone kaboom, I'm asking for homework. Like I'm being graded in Grief and Loss 101. I want to be super griever extraordinaire, okay? I want to shoot out boxes of tissue from my hand like Spider-Man. I want to help people. I should be doing something with this loss, doing something with this gut-wrenching darkness. Obviously, you're worried that you're listening to the talk of a sociopath right now. You're like, okay, Leslie, haven't you seen like a Hallmark movie or any rom-com? You should be Hillary swanking it right now. That is what you should be doing. P.S. I love you. You should be wearing your husband's clothes. You should be crying into them and singing his favorite songs in your apartment. You should be sad, okay? You shouldn't be worrying about being the world's most inspiring widow and helping a bunch of people. You should be sad. That's what you should be doing. Now, before you judge me, I want you to know that I am normal. Yeah, I am here to convince you all, and myself maybe, that I am normal. You don't have to be an expert on grief to know that someone in this room has experienced a loss similar to mine. What I like to call like that first place kind of loss. You deserve to be most sad. It leaves the biggest gaping hole in your minute by minute and day by day. And more than one someone here knows someone who has. And I like to quote one of my favorite movies that you are going to die. I'm going to die. It's going to happen. That's from What About Bob, and it's just here to uplift you all tonight. So what do we do when all this guaranteed dying happens to those around us? Now, I did a little SEO search because I wanted to see what people are looking for. What are the top keywords when we're talking about grief, loss, and dying? And the first thing that pops up is the stages of grief. Raise your hand if that's what you think of when you hear the word grief. You're like, oh yeah, she's going to talk about the stages. The stages of grief are what we think of. And to me, that means that we're all really looking for a formula when it comes to our loss. We want our loss to look something like this. And that's not it. We want it to look something like this. Haha. Okay. We want it to look like a ladder that we climb out of, a staircase. We want to get past denial, past anger, past bargaining, depression, until ultimately we get our trophy at acceptance. Oh, we did it. Now we can spin this story. Now we can create meaning from this. We can have a message from this mess. Our pain can become our purpose. We can thrive, not just survive. It reminds me a lot of the up and to the right graph of the American dream, right? We go to school, we get a job and a 401k, we get married, we eat good food, we go to Disneyland and die. I stole that from my dad. That's his favorite quote. Go to Disneyland and die. We want to do something with this. Now, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who created the 5 stages of grief, she did extensive research on people who were facing a terminal illness. And obviously, her work is so valuable. But she herself said that it was never meant to be linear. It was never meant to be something that we climb out of. In reality, the stages of grief look a lot more like this. They're messy. We're experiencing them all at once. Sometimes we might ping from denial to anger back to acceptance. At the same time, we might be feeling acceptance at the same time of feeling depression and numb. It's messy and not linear. And this language of achievement means many of us feel like failures in the wake of our tragedy. I have had widows say, I feel like I missed my chance to do something with this and to help somebody, as if your tragedy is some sort of grief checking account that is actively draining, and if you don't spend it, you'll lose it. And that's what I want to fight against tonight. I like to describe the first year of widowhood as feeling like a half person. When you get married, you become 2 parts of a whole. I was 1 half of the whole that was Ryan and Leslie. And when Ryan died, 50% of that half was left. Now imagine going through life as a half person, trying to brush your hair or put food on the table for your kids, driving to and from work, actually doing a good job when you're at work. So not only was I doing that, but I was adding Win the Grief Olympics to my task list. I was a half person trying to climb this grief success ladder. Spoiler alert, it did not go well for me. So what should I be doing? So weeks go by. My therapist finally breaks his silence. So there I am, pen and paper out. I'm ready to take it all in. I'm ready for my assignment. And he says, pick one thing. That's it. Pick one thing. Okay, one thing. So I was like, write a best-selling memoir or start a nonprofit? And he was like, okay, we have problem with achievement. Noted. No, he said, pick one thing. He said, maybe it's going back to bed and sleeping a little longer. I was like, whoa, sleeping? No. Sleeping was not on my to-do list because I thought if I went to bed, I would never get out, that the bed and my grief would swallow me whole. He said, every morning when you wake up, ask yourself, is there one thing that would bring me a little bit of joy today? Is there one thing that would give me some endorphins, something that I could look forward to? Maybe it's going on a run. He's like, maybe it's watching your favorite movie. Just pick one thing. He said, roll a ball back and forth with your kids. He's like, don't worry about whether you are making sure they know everything they need to know about their dead dad, making sure that they turn into as amazing little humans as he was. Don't worry about whether you're disciplining them right or shaping their character. Just roll the ball back and forth. So I did. I rolled the ball. And for a while, the one thing that I wanted to do was watch Joey, Monica, Chandler, Ross, Rachel, and Phoebe get into some shenanigans at the Central Park. And the next day I woke up and it was watching Friends again. And the next day it was Friends again. And I watched Friends every night for a year to go to sleep. And the next day I did roll the ball back and forth with my kid. And I noticed, the way he smiled and how he was growing up. And the next day I did call somebody so I could sleep a little longer. And guess what? I woke up. The bed didn't swallow me whole. The next day I prayed to a God that I believed in, but I was really scared to talk to. I had a lot of questions for. Every day I kept waking up and picking the next one thing. And soon I came to cherish that one thing. Soon I found something stupid like Central Perk was like a holy ground for my healing. And as the year went by, I started feeling a little bit less like a half person. And I no longer felt like I was failing because I was no longer trying to win the Grief Olympics. I was surviving. And for me, surviving looked like sometimes serving fresh ramen to my kids. Now, if you don't know what fresh ramen is, I'm going to give you the recipe. You take a package of ramen, you open it up, and you serve it raw. It's got that nice crunch to it. My kids loved it, and they named it, because we're very fancy, we called it fresh ramen. And to me, fresh ramen shows that I was being a good enough mom. Maybe not the best mom, but I was a good enough mom, and I was a good enough griever. I want to end by talking about the widowhood effect. A 2014 study in the Journal of Public Health found that people whose spouses died had a 66% increased chance of dying themselves within 3 months after their spouse's death. That is because grief takes a physical toll. Things like anxiety and inability to sleep, an increase in appetite, a decrease, so weight loss, weight gain, a decrease in immunity, so an increased chance of getting sick. All of this is trying to take you out in the wake of our tragedy. It's not an uplifting study. But hearing about it makes my year of ball rolling, fresh ramen serving, friends watching, feeble attempts at prayer, survival, pretty darn remarkable. What if surviving is greater than thriving? What if it's surviving that deserves the trophy? I am up here because I've walked the path. Right now, this might not mean much to a lot of you, and it can go in one ear or the other. But in 5 years, 10 years, I hope it's a long ways off for you. You will experience this guaranteed first place sort of grief. And I hope you remember some of the things that I talked about. I hope you remember that it's okay that it's messy and not linear. I hope you pick your one thing. And I hope you wake up a year out from your big loss, and that's it. That you literally wake up. And instead of feeling like a failure for maybe making some mediocre dinner decisions, you feel proud of yourself for surviving. And with that pride, you have the strength to then reach out and help someone else and do something with that loss and give someone that box of tissue. I hope you survive. And I hope you know that survival is beautiful and enough.